word Taiaha also ties back into the umbilical cord. The tai a te ha. And the Taiaha in essence is connecting you back into something greater. Because the weapon will only animate because you give it life. When it comes into your hands, it starts to animate. It starts to come alive. You give it ha. You give it breath. You give it energy. Let's start with the Taiaha itself. There are many, many tribal traditions associated with the genesis or the genealogy of the Taiaha. One of the genesis stories is that this weapon emerged during the elemental conflict of life itself, when the gods were quarreling. And one of the gods, Tumatauinga, the god of war, was quarreling with Rongo, the god of peace. It's a perpetual problem still happening today. And he sought a weapon which was called the Akerotangi, which became the Taiaha. I'll explain it. The Taiaha, this part here, is the upoko or the head. It has the parewahawaha or the arero, which is the mouth and the tongue. Ngā whatu, the eyes, it has 4 eyes, but by rotating it, it allows you to give you 360 degrees. It's a metaphor for maintaining 360 degrees awareness. Normally in some of the Taiaha, they have feathers or hair around this part here, which is called the tākaki, the neck part, and that was used for distracting the opponent. Coming up into this part here, you're coming into what the tinana, again based on the human form, and that part there was used for blocking. It was used for also both offensive and defensive. Same with the tongue. It was used for thrusting, used for ripping, and whatever else that the user desired to do with it. Coming up on the tinana, we're now getting into what they call the ate, or the lower limbs. And this part here, again, there are many different names. It's called the reke, or the ro. It's like the sole, the boot. And it's used for, again, thrusting as well. The Taiaha, I will show some simple movements later, but it was moved in a number of range motions, twirling, figure 8, by just moving it around, and same with you, just get it and move it around. Just finding, and here we are in open spaces, okay? By thrusting, striking, you can do all those things. You can twirl it around your neck, thrust it towards the camera, pull back, and so forth. Round behind your back, because you might strike over there, you miss, you've got to be able to recover. And just keep moving it around, moving it around. These movements may be good, but as I get closer to combat, I start to shorten them down. Basically, you only need about 3 strikes. And so you look at the actual anatomy of the person, and you start to get into the reflex action. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and moving. There's a whole lot more, but this is just an introduction to that. But for those people who want to learn Taiaha, just get a piece of wood and just twirl it around. You'll soon find that you'll either hit yourself and whatever. When I start to use a spade, this there is quite easy. You know, you soon find its center of balance, you've got to move it around. But if it's a spade, it's got a different. Okay? So this is the Taiaha. It's held in 2 hands, but you can use it in 1 to thrust, to strike, however you want to use it. It's over to the weapon wielder to design whatever moves. And many great warriors used to make a lot of their great moves. They had names, you know, the pairuru, the perch of the owl, you know, hue tangaru, the sweeping movements. You know, there's a lot of poetry in there, no different to any other cultures. So that's the Taiaha. Again, the key thing I'd like you to remember though, the metaphysical. Coming back to your umbilical cord. The energy. And the Taiaha could also be used to help to clear the ground, to lift up any bad vibration. And the tongue was very tapu. It could be used to stab into the ground and then used to send the karakias. Aio nuku, aio rangi, aio tipu, aio koa, aio tipu, ta more te wu, ta aka te tipu te rea. Tēnei ka āwhio ki runga, ka āwhio ki mūtaroro, io matua, io nuku, io rangi e. Kia hara mai te Maori, kia haumi e, kia hui e, kia tāi ki e. So there is quite a bit, but this is just an introduction to give you some insight into both the weaponry as a martial art, but also as a way of connecting with life as well, coming back to nature. And I'll explain a bit more about some of the movements as well. Alright, I showed you the 8 Aio movements using traditional Maori weaponry and using your both unarmed. What I'm going to do is show you how you can just still use normal implements around your home. For soldiers, particularly maybe New Zealand soldiers, these same movements also apply to if you're using a bayonet and rifle. These same thrusts, these same butt strokes. You also maybe on the battlefield, getting a lot into peacekeeping now, where you haven't got all the big guns and gunships and all that. It's basically getting down into close quarter combat, not combat, but you're in close quarters with a lot of people. And there may be times where you haven't got your rules of engagement does not allow you to engage a crowd of people with machine guns, but you might have to be able to resort to protecting yourselves or your section just using natural implements around you that's on the back of the Jeep or whatever. So here's one, the spade. Okay. I'm going to go through the 8 Aio movements using the spade. Okay, start from your poke quarter position again. Look, this is a natural position. I've seen a lot of fellas leaning on their spade like this, all right? You go and look along the old roadworks, people leaning, natural position, relaxed. Okay, what I'm going to do now, potahi, paurua. Okay, I'm using the spade. Okay, from these positions I could come out and strike. Okay, pautoru, do a big swing. Yes. Okay, pautoru. All right, pau-fa. Maybe blocking or striking to the face. All right, another big swing. Swipe. Okay, crossing over. Okay, you might have to use it, you know, people might be firing, you know, maybe empty canisters. You might have to use it to block. Okay, coming down to the side, blocking down here. You might have just stopped somebody down there, block, stamp down. Okay, coming over to the other side, blocking there, and two. Okay, this might be a position where you might want to just show your defiance to the enemy, or you might want to just bring it down slowly, slowly, back to the poke quarter again. And just rest, all right? What I'll do now is show how you can use these same movements. Picking up something. Here's a nice one. It's the kawakawa, a very important tree in the Maori, in New Zealand. Very useful for healing, can do lots of wonderful things. Has both the dark side and the light side, reminding us that everything in nature has polarities. And also the insects have been eating it, so it must be nice. Insects are the wisdom. But by using various forms, I'll go through those same forms again. So I'm going to use the raukawa. And by shifting it, I'll use these as part of forms. These movements can be used for happy things too. They don't have to be for aggression. So you're sitting there, imagine you've got a nice rose. And now we're going to use the raukawa. Okay. Okay, pautahi, moving there, paurua, pautoru, pau-fa, reaching out, you know, just keep it happy, paurima, you know, pau-ono, pau-fitu, and pau-waru, and bringing it down. You can also change the direction. So this little thing, you know, has got a beak on it. So I might go to potahi again. I switch. I poke your belly button with this part here. Okay? So that's, all these 8 movements are like seeds. Okay? So that's using the kawakawa. So you don't need to be too aggressive with these things, people. Just find some flowers too. You know, remember, it's about the seed and the flower. It's not all about fighting and weapons and wars. It's about using nature.